Hello and welcome along to another episode of the Where's My Kit Bag podcast, featuring the three lovely media technicians of the Sixth Form College Farnborough, with myself, James.
Me, Will.
And I'm Steve.
How are we, fellas?
Good.
Very well.
Very nice.
Nice.
Good old Thursday afternoon.
First pod of 2020 where we can still see the rugby posts without artificial light.
Yeah.
There you go.
I do like the lighter evenings.
Yeah.
Welcome to Daylight Savings, everyone. Soon we will move the clocks forward and everything will be brighter.
Isn't that in like
Yay.
March?
Soon we will move the clocks forward and everything will be brighter. I don't know when exactly that will be, but yes, it could be March. I actually don't know. Check your calendars,
We'll march
kids.
on with the podcast and we'll find out another time.
Oh, that's
Just go.
Oh, that's great.
that's good. Steve, give me some department news. What you got?
There's film club's already been, I think, decided that the current film is winning 60% of the votes.
Ooh.
And yeah, so that's
What have
the
they gone
thing.
for?
At the moment, bear in mind, I've already made a graphic for it because they've got until Monday to swing 10 votes. It's the 1976 Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver.
Nice.
What a
Good
film.
film.
Which is a very good film.
What a film.
So
I believe that was the runner-up for last time.
that
right?
was the runner-up from last time.
So
So due to popular demand,
see,
it has
so it's worth
fought
putting them back in.
through. Yeah, it seems like people in the department don't like the French because La Haine
Mm-hmm.
has only got 2 votes.
Oh,
With I
ouch.
think it's like 4% of the vote.
Dear.
But yeah, The Imposter, which was actually my, trump card or wild card in these days, with trump card being a bit controversial. Yeah, that's actually not doing too bad. That's got like 30-odd%. Obviously, very much behind Taxi Driver with a full 60% as of now. But if there's 10 of you out there that haven't voted that really don't want to see Taxi Driver, get on and vote. You find it in your emails. So that's an interesting thing. That'll be the screening for the 10th of February, which I'm just in the process of confirming the slot for that screening, but I'm fairly confident that will get done. So that's the 10th of February, 4:25, Simon Jarvis Lecture Theatre. Should be Taxi Driver unless there is a mix-up in the voting. But I will actually release the pie chart of the vote this time, so there's
Evidence.
no confusion. Yes.
nice.
I might even release the last one as well, just so people know the Get Out was.
Just so you know, just so people know it's not fixed.
Yeah, I might
Evidence.
get that out. Terrible. Got carried away there. Marching on, and basically,
it's the pun
what else? Newsletter is. It's not really much else, to be honest with you. I think you should check out the newsletter to see what else is on there. Actually, this is a good point because it's going out on Monday. If any of you have the new iPhone, I think it's the 11, the 11 Pro, and the 11 Max, you can actually enter a competition just using the hashtag. I think it's Night Mode Photography or Apple Night Mode. Either way, you'll see it on Monday because it's actually going out on the newsletter. Sadly, it was supposed to go out last week, but there was a more important current article going out about the BFI winnings. Congratulations to Nell and those guys from last year. But this week I'm putting out the iPhone competition. The reason it's interesting is because it takes a quick hashtag, and if you've got one of the new iPhones, all you've got to do is take a photo using the new night mode, and you could win essentially marketing rights from Apple, and you could probably imagine how much Apple are willing to pay to use your photograph. So yeah, from when the newsletter goes out, you'll only have 2 days to enter, but from when this goes out, you'll have at least 5. So if you've got any nice photos that you use the night mode on your swanky new iPhone 11, 11 Pro, or 11 Max, get on it. That's an interesting one. The photos are quite incredible, actually, for a phone, I'll be honest. It's quite good. Not an Apple guy myself, but I'm always looking around to see what competitions are out there. And one day, a student will win one, and it'll be because of the old TechNet News, which would be great. So that's pretty much it. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I do know that we have confirmed a special guest for the Oscars as of today.
Yes.
That will be
I don't even know
well,
this.
that'll be unveiled soon. But
Is it me?
No,
No.
you are a host.
I'm a host?
Well, yeah, there's 3 hosts.
Oh, yes.
3 lovely hosts.
Yes.
Yes.
But no,
indeed.
they have confirmed as of today. So the first podcast after the Oscars will have a special guest. So look forward to that.
Nice.
Besides that, I think that's pretty much all the news. I'm probably forgetting something, but yeah, there you go. That's all from me. I can see there's a bigger tech news department, tech news section, might I correct myself. So it might even be better to move on to that because there's a few articles that I even have.
Oh,
Hello and welcome back to Tech News. Right, so this week, we got a bit more than we had last week. Squeak?
Last squeak.
Last squeak. First thing I want to talk about is Disney Plus. So we finally have a price for how much it's going to be in the UK, and it's coming in at $5.99. Obviously, we've spoken about subscription stuff before, and sort of like how many we have ourselves. Amazon and Netflix sort of being the prime, the big ones at the moment. Prime,
The Prime
yeah.
one. I see what you did there.
Oh, no.
Excellent marketing.
There's some good shows on it, and I've heard a lot of good things about The Mandalorian, but
It's
don't
all
know.
basically been spoiled by the
yeah,
internet.
I don't know if I'm going to pay $5.99 a month, or you can pay £60 for the whole year.
I like when they give you the option to give you an annual, because you
get
just
2
pay it
months
once.
free.
Yeah, you pay it once, you forget about it for a year, and you're like, oh, I've got this service.
Yeah, well, if you know you're going to use it for a year, but it's an interesting one. $5.99.
Are you going to get 60 hours out of Disney Plus?
Well, I remember with like the Amazon Prime thing, it gave them the option to buy annually, so I was like, well, duh, I save money, so yes.
Yeah.
But then obviously that comes with all Prime delivery and Prime Music and blah.
Yeah, Prime offers a lot for your
a
money,
lot more,
doesn't it?
for well, just a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I watch, like if I feel like I watch like an entire series or like 3 films, I feel that my Netflix monthly cost is worth it. But I don't know what content Disney Plus have got.
See, for me, Netflix has almost replaced as like TV, really.
Yeah.
Your TV box, how much are you paying? There were like £30-40 a month.
Oh,
for
stupid,
Sky or Virgin or
stupid
something
money.
like that.
I looked in it literally just to get football and F1, and
Yeah.
it's stupid money.
Whereas with Netflix, they don't just have their own content. I think that's the nice thing. Disney, it's all Disney content, obviously,
Yeah.
which is a lot. But with Netflix, you get a bit of everything, don't you? Across, especially UK stuff.
If you're a big Disney fan, boy or girl, then it's going to be really up your alley.
Yeah.
But if you're just kind of, I'll watch the occasional Pixar, you'd probably still just go to the cinema.
Yeah. So
to see it when it comes
that's Disney
out.
Plus. Fujifilm announced a brand new camera. It got leaked the day before, so I think they realised, well, they've shown all the specs, so you might as well release it now. The XT200 replacing the XT100, 4K APS-C camera, $799. Check it out. It's a pretty good price, and they're very good with their image quality. So I haven't really seen any reviews of it, but might be a good one to pick up and get into the Fujifilm lineup. Might be
Sounds
a
like
good
a
one to start with.
Terminator.
I think Steve's got a couple articles he wants to touch base on, so I'll hand over to Steve.
Hello. Well, interesting one. We kind of stumbled across this one collaboratively. So, Jared Polin, Frono's Photos, basically talked about the new Leica camera. I don't know its full name, but basically, there is a specific amount of money that you can pay for a Leica camera, which is arguably overpriced as it is, but the camera only shoots black and white. So it's called the Leica Monochrome, and it will set you back $9,000.
Why?
I don't know.
Is it itself monochrome?
It is. Yeah, they've actually lost the little like red L that they usually put on
They've,
their
like,
cameras.
blacked it out.
They've blacked it out, which is quite cool.
So that little bit of paint.
Yeah, it's now black
Wow.
to go with its blacked out design.
The size of it is like mobile phone size. It's like
Yeah,
That's quite small.
I mean the
Yeah.
photos that come out of it are great, but as Jared Pollan said, have you ever seen the saturation and contrast slider on any sort of editing software that you'd use for anybody who has £9,000 to spend on a piece of camera equipment?
You could buy Adobe CC for life.
More
For
or
about
less,
£9,000.
pretty much. Yeah.
Like, hey, Adobe, here's £9,000. How many years am I going to get out of that?
Well, I think it's like £250 a year, isn't it, or something like that? So
It's a fair few
essentially,
years.
you'd get at least 30 years, $7,500, which would, in theory, be life if you count in prison years, 25 years.
There you go.
That's life. So yeah,
Prison years.
yes, you would. You would get editing software for life, not including any sort of inflation. Well, there you go. That was an interesting comparison. Should we move on? So there's that. Check that out if you like. It's called the Leica Monochrome. The other one, you've probably heard from the podcast quite a lot, that's gone a bit quiet. Google Stadia. Remember that? What was Google Stadia?
It was the Google's attempt at doing gaming through servers.
The Netflix of games.
The Netflix of games.
Well, in theory, they haven't really pulled through what they promised because they still haven't got any sort of 60 FPS 4K option, which they said they were already going to bring out shortly after launch. That is scheduled to come out. However, the interesting thing is though the service kind of works. I mean, it does what it says on the tin, but if you're in somewhere that doesn't really have the best download speed, it's not going to be, your crisp quality as if you were getting something that was actually physically on the device, which is something that everyone was worried about, and has come to light to be true. It isn't an authentic experience, even if it's milliseconds delayed. It's enough to feel strange from what I've read up on. In addition to that, you need the Google Stadia app to run the games on whatever software you're using, i.e. a phone could put it on a Chromecast, so you could use your Google Stadia controller. I believe there's a Chrome browser add-on which has got Stadia, etc., etc. Either way, there's like an app or an interface or a launcher that you have to get. It's only had 500,000 downloads since it launched, and you may think that is a huge number, but you got to think like companies like Activision have sold millions upon millions of copies of Call of Duty, and that's just one game, not a full service. So 500,000 is not very much in the gaming world. And the interesting thing is in the first month it got about 300,000, and it kind of really paints a picture of its real decline, because it came out in November and it's January, so obviously a month and a half on.
Is that global?
Well, this is from Inside Gaming's video that I'm kind of taking this information from, so I can't, guarantee its legitimacy. But they've always been pretty accurate with any sort of gaming news that I've kind of
because 500,000 globally is nothing.
Yeah,
it's literally like a drop
they
in the
tried
ocean.
to promote it as like play on your mobile and stuff like that. But with the amount of data it requires, who's going to have a data plan that can support that?
Exactly.
Well, I didn't know it doesn't actually run on a lot of mobile systems. They're still implementing like the Google Pixel 2 and I think it's the 3. Is there a 4 out now? Pixel 4 is it 3?
4 is
so only the newest
current
Pixel
one.
can actually run Stadia.
Wow.
Older Android systems can't actually run it, which I didn't know. That was news to me.
I wonder why.
I could be slightly wrong in regards to specific Pixel models, but there are a lot of Androids that cannot run Stadia, which is interesting. So I thought it was kind of, you could play it on a Windows 98 monitor because you only needed the Chrome extension to run it. That's what was the impression I was under. Evidently not. Which is an interesting one. So sadly, I was on board. I was on the bandwagon. I didn't get Stadia. Kind of made it sound like I got it. I really wanted it to be a success because I think, as we transition from, walls of plastic DVDs, it would be kind of cool to have this online library because I'm here, there, and everywhere with what I do in jobs and stuff. And some nights I stay at my girlfriend's house, etc. And she doesn't have, a gaming PC set up at her house, which I do use for editing. It's a nice little hybrid that I've got. But it would be nice to have that, power essentially on my phone. So as she likes to do, spend half an hour drying her hair, I could jump into Assassin's Creed Odyssey or whatever and do what they advertise. But that isn't a reality, sadly. So yeah, Google Stadia in a nutshell, not what everyone thought and not doing very well. So
could you say this?
Worst day of my life. Worst day of my life.
I'd say so, especially with the size of Google. They've really tried to, get involved, but they kind of haven't. I think I'd go as far to say I think PlayStation Now was doing better than Google Stadia, and that's a different type of streaming service. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I assume there are, like Love Film back in the day. That eventually it had its pros and cons. I assume Stadia is going to have its pros and cons, but we may look back in 5-10 years' time and think Stadia was the first kind of step in that direction. So it has its positives. I'm just happy I'm not one of the guinea pigs that experimented with it, essentially.
All the stuff.
Yeah, so that's it on Stadia. Well, I guess we'll keep you updated because there's only been 100,000 more downloads since 120-ish since its second month. So it's its first launch month, which is interesting.
I think something that makes it almost irrelevant is how most games now you can get just across so many platforms.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even say. Yeah, it's only got like 30 games with one exclusive.
Like if you take, like you said, Call of Duty, for example, now you can play across PlayStation, Xbox, PC.
Yeah.
Like adding something else into this mix, is it necessary at the moment? Not maybe.
So do you think we're a couple of years away from truly like physical?
I think if it's going to happen, it's going to have to wipe out everything else.
Yeah, because crossplay's really starting to push forward now, and Call of Duty and Rocket League actually have proved that it works. Because I never thought I'd be able to sit on my PC and play Call of Duty with my brother, who only has a PlayStation. But it's flawless.
Well,
it's absolutely flawless.
Don't forget Fortnite as well. The fact that you can play on a phone, PC, computer, Xbox, all in the same party.
You played it on your iPad. You showed me on your iPad, and never played Fortnite. Came second.
He smashed
You came
it.
second
I
in
came
the end.
second. I almost won.
He had like 8 kills.
It was clunky because I'm not very good, but I can safely say got to the top 3 in Fortnite. I'm down
Nice.
with the kids. Insert floss here. So yeah, there you go. It was actually really impressive.
I don't know whether to play best day or worst day of my life.
Best day of my life.
All right.
Best day of my life.
Yeah,
Best day of my life.
which was cool. I felt down with the kids.
Nice.
It
You're-
was
you're
great.
so street.
I'll be honest, it was a fun experience.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
It was a fun
I enjoyed
experience.
watching it. It was good. Last thing on the list, we've got the new Google Pixel Book Go. Now, Chromebooks over, say, £400, I'm not really on board with, because I don't think they quite offer the same thing as a PC does, and I think charging that much is a bit outrageous. I don't really know who's buying them. I don't know who would be buying Chromebooks at that sort of price, but people are, obviously, because they're making them. However, I think there's a lot more available models, a lot more for what you need and what you're doing on a Chromebook, if that's what you're getting it for. A lot more accessible prices. This comes in at £649 for the Pixelbook Go. Do you want to talk a little bit more about it, Ben?
I mean, the main reason I put this on there was mainly just to, like you kind of pointed out, is there much point in having really hyper expensive Chromebooks?
Yeah,
Because obviously they don't have Windows, they don't have Mac OS. You can't get a full version of Photoshop on them. You can't get a full version of Prem on them. For obviously what we do, you can get Lightroom on them though, so that's cool in a way. You can get most stuff that's on the Google Play Store, which is cool in a way.
It's just
You
like
can
a
play some
tablet then,
yeah,
isn't it? Really?
basically turns into a tablet with a keyboard and mouse attached. So I mean, I got a Chromebook yonks ago when I started here, because I was just like, oh, Chromebooks are cool. I'll get the same one the college has got. And then I got one free with my phone, which is obviously like 5 years newer, significantly better in every way. But it's no laptop. It's not got the grunt that a laptop does. But yeah, it does boot up really quick. And, you know, if I'm just doing something on Google Docs really quick, or just, I need to Google something really fast, it's brilliant. It ticks and hits the nail on the head. Whether I would choose, if I saw two devices at the same price, let's say 649. So if I saw a 649 laptop and a 649 Chromebook, I'm gonna probably pick the laptop because it's got more versatility.
Have you ever taken your Chromebook out the house?
Yes,
Okay.
I've taken it out and about. I've brought it to other people's houses. I've taken it places to do work and things before now. So it has travelled. It's travelled the grand distance of not very far, but it has travelled.
Yeah. No, it's just interesting because essentially it's just a bigger phone, really, with a keyboard, isn't it? So, and a bit more processing power.
Yeah.
But obviously having a nice screen to do sort of Google-based work is good.
But obviously, if you've got it on the train Wi-Fi you've got to pay for, signal's going to be dodgy.
Can you download stuff from apps like Netflix can with phones and keep stuff for watching?
I mean, it does have storage, but the only downfall of Chromebook storage in general is it's quite small.
Yeah.
You're limited to like 64 gig or 128 gig, and that's it. You can't. The only way you can add to that is by putting in an SD card or a micro SD card, or plugging in an external hard drive if you want to, like, you know, if you've got, like, I don't know, a collection of films or TV and stuff you bought off Amazon or something, you can play it, or if you've downloaded stuff off Netflix to watch later and all that kind of jazz. So I'm sure you can do those things. But Steve Birtles, obviously Lord of Google, popped over to show us some newer Chromebooks and things, and you can put full Linux on it, which means you can install programs and you can install things like Steam onto your Chromebook and it runs, which I thought was quite balmy. So that could be maybe where this is for those kind of more
I think the reason
like developer
a reasonable
orientated
priced Chromebook, you're laughing. It's a good topic to talk about. But
I think
once you get over that
£350 and
£500
under,
mark,
I think $350 and under is where generally you should probably live with your Chromebook.
Cool. Well, that wraps up tech news for this week. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll now move on to
Tune of the Week. So this should have been the tune that was Tune of the Week last week, but then I found a better tune, so I made that Tune of the Week last week. So
and nothing beat it this week.
So this week's Tune of the Week. No, nothing did beat it this week. I was very tempted to put in the Weekend Blinded by the Lights, or Blinded by the Light, or whatever it's called. Blinding Lights. Lights Blinding Weekend Wickned.
By who?
The Weekend. You know The Weekend?
Yes.
But they spell weekend wrong, so it's Weekned. No? Am I just... Oh, forget. Yeah, do
You
you know
never noticed that the weekend's not spelled correctly.
Yeah.
No.
What?
Yeah,
Have
there's
you
no
not?
E, there's
No,
no
I'd
E
never
in it.
realised that.
Oh, no.
Today I learned.
Oh, God, that is...
I
that
was
is
today years old.
I never knew that.
Yeah, you clearly didn't realise. So the Wooknud, as I sometimes call them, because it makes me laugh on the inside. So I was very tempted to pick that because it is a cool tune.
Never heard it.
Have you not?
No.
I'll play it after the pod.
Is it the new one?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't even sing it. I don't. I know how it goes, but copyright. So I'm picking the tune of the week that I would have picked last week. This week, there you go. That's a tongue twister.
Maybe
for
it's
you.
in the running for next week.
The weekend is currently top of the list for next week, unless I
Nice.
hear something else.
There's every possibility.
Unless I hear something else, and I hear a lot. So this week's track of the week, there should have been last week's track of the week, but now it's this week's track of the week. That's a tongue twister. Is Nada Surf, a band that none of you have ever heard of, as far as I know.
Nope.
And I've been following them since I was at university, so all the way back in 2008. Someone on my course was just like, "Hey, listen to this." I was like, "Oh, this is good." And then obviously I've followed them all the way through. So I've got a new album coming out in February, and the track I've picked this week is the one called "Something I Should Do," and it's very much similar to their kind of more older style of 2008, which I much prefer. That they do Nada Surf do some really like weird albums sometimes, and you can't listen to it and go, okay, noise, and then you're just kind of like, go back to the good albums, which was slightly earlier in their sort of career. So this one is more a hark back to that kind of older sound of theirs, which I much prefer. So I'm very excited to get that album in when it comes out in February. So it should be a good one.
Cool.
But yes, I'll put it on the old Where's My KitBag playlist on Spotify. And yes, it's Nada Surf. Something I Should Do is what I recommend you have a gander to. Nice.
Thank you very much.
Nice, wickety whack. Next week could be the weekend, or it could be something else. Who knows?
That's kind of blowing my mind a little bit.
What? The
That's
weekend is
tripping me
spelled
out.
wrong.
Have you checked it?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I looked
isn't
at it. I'm like, that's
That's
just
wrong.
changed. I feel like it's just changed.
Mind.
Like you guys just made it up, sent a quick text, and Spotify's updated it. You know, like I've
No, we've changed the Wikipedia
had it playing
entry.
in my car. I listened to the Starboy album when that came out, like
Can't feel your
religiously.
face now, can you?
No.
I love it.
That took me too long.
That's two. You got super price on.
All right,
mate.
I'm out.
Oh, mate, this is turning.
All right,
into
I'm gonna head out.
This is turning into the pun episode.
Pun pod.
Pun pod.
Can we move to the next segment now, please?
Right, shall we discuss what on earth we have been watching this week?
And
ND.
So, now we've all seen 1917, haven't we? Hurrah. Me and Steve went to see it the weekend
I
to
want
catch
to
up
hear
with
your
Will.
opinions. Please go.
Moving, powerful, pretty damn good. Yes.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
Cool.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
Yes, very powerful.
Did you get that
Much
thing I
good.
said about the horror feel vibe?
Yeah.
Did you guys get that
Yeah.
sense from it? Good. Okay, it wasn't just me then. Scores. What did you give it?
I'll start. I can justify my point, which is
All right,
minor.
all right,
I give it a
hit me up.
9.5.
Oh, nice.
The reason I gave it a 9.5 was purely for the fact of two scene changes.
Yep.
And that was simple as, do you want to ring the spoiler alert for those who haven't seen 1917?
Yes, because 1917 is still in the cinemas, so
Yep.
it's probably a good idea. Here we go.
So I'd click off now. If you, thank you for listening to the podcast. If you haven't watched 1917, go and watch it, and then come back to this time code, which is quite
Thanks
cool.
for listening to the Where's My KitBag?
Nice. No, when the tripwire goes off in the Nazi bunker, they'd just come from these marshlands. It was very moist and dense, and there was nothing to be seen for miles, albeit there was quite a lot of fog. And they went into this bunker, and they went through one room. The tripwire goes off. They then jump over a mine shaft, and they, from what we can see, run about 15 feet. And they come out into this dry kind of salt mine kind of area where it looks like there hasn't been rainfall in weeks. And I found that really weird how it was a sudden scene change. Obviously, I understand with the technique that they were going for, but that really made me go...
I guess it's more environment, isn't
yeah,
it?
the
rather
whole
than-
environment changed, which obviously I know it's a narrative, and that's the only way that they could, change the scene in that way. But it was a significant change, and I felt that was a bit odd. Noticeably, again, when the character of Will goes down the stream, and he ends up in some woods. it was more of a patch of trees, because then the next thing we see is we're in another complete like cliffside location from what I could gather. I wasn't really sure. And that happened really quickly again. And that one was a little more subtle, but the real kind of change in scene was quite intense, because I think they nailed it with the truck and the truck getting stuck, because even though it was only 5 to 6 minutes we were in the truck, you could have ended up anywhere, which is I quite liked that, and it was a good moment.
Did you get the notion of real time whilst watching the film?
Yeah, I could say so. I think it was a good way in regards to the concussion to kind of pass a significant amount of time. So I did think to myself, I was like, well, they've got a lot more time to kind of crack on with. I felt like I don't know if you've ever played like a FIFA or anything like that, and you see the clock going really fast.
Yeah.
But like morning came hella quick. And I liked that kind of thing of like, we're in real time, but at the same time, 4 a.m. to what felt like 6, 7 a.m. was maybe 20 to 30 minutes, which kind of worked quite nicely. I didn't see it an issue at all. So in answer to your question, yes, I thought it was really good. That is literally my only complaint, is I kind of got taken out of it with the scene changes. Besides that, I personally thought it was narrative-wise flawless. The acting was fantastic. A real homage to... the whoever told the story. Sadly, I don't remember the name of the person that comes up at the end, but it was based on someone's story, wasn't it? So yeah, that was great. What about you?
I initially started at a 9, and then I've been pondering it ever since.
Or was it going down?
No, it's going up.
Oh,
it's going up to 9.5.
Oh, you're both getting to 9.5.
Yeah, I've thought, why dock it a whole point? I don't think it deserves that kind of
What docks it?
savagery.
Yeah, what?
I think for me, I think that the only thing that really kind of bugged me was the bit with the German fighter plane landing down. And as soon as the German fighter plane landed down, and I can't remember the main the guy
Tom and Will.
Tom and Will. So I can't remember I can't remember which one.
Will survives the whole thing.
All right, so Tom, obviously spoiler alert. So Tom obviously goes over to the plane to help the pilot out. Now as soon as I saw him do that, I'm just like, that pilot's going to stab him all day. And yeah, you could obviously see him drag him out. You can see the German's got his knife or a sword like on him. I'm just like, if that was a genuine situation, you would whip that weapon away from him straight away.
Can I be savage? Can I be savage and disagree?
Always. Go on.
Yeah.
It really showed that these were like real people. They weren't soldiers. And though that they were enemies, a greater good, they were trying to help somebody in need.
True.
And I think I would have done the same thing. I would have probably ended up following the same fate. I'd like to think.
I think they justified it a little bit with just how innocent they made them throughout the whole thing up until that point, obviously, and how his gut reaction was, even from the moment he got there, he was like, oh, we need to get him out, we need to get him some water, we need to do this. And the whole time he's just thinking about the welfare.
Yeah.
And then you can see, I think he's just being negligent to that point, and I think the camera's put there, obviously, for you to detect those things. I didn't see the knife when I watched it.
No, neither did I. Neither did I. But
I'm always looking out for weapons.
It's
but
a
that's good.
significant...
Yeah, but they've obviously done that shot so you can see it if you look.
There's a significant foreshadowing when he gets the original memo and he has no doubts or concerns. He just goes for it. And obviously Will's like, do you want to kind of consider this first? Like, they gave us grenades and stuff. And he doesn't care because he just wants the welfare of somebody he cares about to be safe, essentially.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, other than that, which kind of like took me out for a little bit and then obviously straight back in. But locations were gorgeous. Yep. The sort of big shots, where obviously you've got him running along like the kind of front where obviously all the bombs are going off, and obviously like running into people, and how what I did find quite funny is while he was running obviously down towards the end, after he just kind of goes, right, screw this, I'm just going to leap over and just run down the front. And then obviously like bounces into people, and they just kind of like a sack of spuds just fall down.
Oh yeah,
they're just like, oh,
it's brutal.
I'm dead now, and they just see obviously Will going for it. But no, I mean, overall, I thought it was one of the best films. Obviously, I'm incredibly biased to Ford versus Ferrari because Fords and Ferraris are close to my heart, racing wise. And I think I'd probably pick that over it for best film at the Oscars, but only because of my internal bias towards cars. Otherwise, any other year, 1917 all day.
What are your thoughts? We haven't heard many of your thoughts, Will.
Yeah, well, I kind of tried to sum it up without spoilers in the last one,
But
but
now you can spoil.
Yeah,
Will. It's fine. The alarm's gone off.
for me, from the second it started, it took me sort of like a minute to get used to the sort of 360 cam, and then once I was sold on that, I was just immersed the whole way through. And the bit where he like jumps out of a truck and starts pushing it, and you can feel the anger that's like flowing through him, and it just to like keep pushing, and that notion of like pushing through the film, I think that's like a motif through all of it. How you're always moving forward, I absolutely loved. And I was just engrossed. I absolutely loved every single second of it, and I felt like the time that went by, I was living every second alongside them personally, and nothing really took it out for me. I didn't really have a moment like you did, where I kind of got sucked out of the action.
But literally, for me, that was it. I think the specific note for me that I utterly loved and adored was the amount of detail and attention they put to building the sets and obviously destroying essentially the kind of world they were in.
So and
making it really feel like you were there, which is my favorite bit of the whole thing.
Yeah,
is just like sort of Steve was saying, like you're going from environment to environment. Obviously, yeah, sometimes the weather looks a bit dodge, but I think overall, whoever is the sort of set design has done an absolute a star job on that.
I'll be honest, I wouldn't know how to do it differently.
No.
I've got to be honest in that front. I just thought it was a bit too sudden. That was all, But
Yeah.
I don't have an answer to fix it, which is a bit of a pie in the face to my own criticism.
There's a lot of scenes where they're moving the camera and stuff where once the action's happened, a bit of the scene like transforms to allow the camera through. So the bit where once he's jumped over the bridge and he's being shot at. Do you remember that? Yeah. So he goes into the building, goes upstairs, gets knocked out, gets back up, sees the body, and he kind of goes down and out, but the camera goes above through the window. In that shot, the whole wall they have on a mechanical hydraulics that pulls away into the like inside building of the church. So the camera then is passed to a crane on the outside. So an operator runs and hooks it on and passes it down and through.
Holy crap!
And like there's things like that throughout the whole film.
I mean,
it's
that's just an absolute operation.
Yeah, and
It's
the bit where
amazing.
he's running through the city, they take it on a jeep, a bike, a person, and a crane, all in the same roll of recording.
I mean, I was also secretly in like the back of my mind trying to look where the hidden cuts were.
That's just us there, isn't it? Yeah,
but that's just because we're on the hunt for it. But I'm pretty sure that there were a few where it's kind of like, oh, it's all gone black. Well, there's your cut.
Yeah.
Or they've gone through a doorway. Oh, there's your cut. But yeah, I think that the only other the only dodgy bit of editing or CG or whatever it is, or when he sort of leapt off and jumped into the water. I thought that was the only bit that looked a bit off. Otherwise, everything else was perfection. I thought.
Tell you one of the things I really liked about it, which it sounds quite morbid when I say it, but the essence of death was everywhere, and
absolutely.
I really enjoyed that because I think being I don't really know what the word is, that in the generation that I'm in, I don't have the mental capacity to really fathom how dark those times would have been. And I think one of the real moments for me where I was like, oh wow, that really kind of resonated with me a bit was when right at the start of the film, after they'd passed the horses and they went down into one of the craters, and Will slips and puts his hand through the chest of a carcass.
That was grim.
And I'm just like, I cannot fathom psychologically what that would be like, and the essence of death was everywhere, and it's one of those things that makes me kind of go like, wow, that was a tough time, a real tough time for these people. And I think they illustrated that fact perfectly without kind of doing those really cheesy jump scares where like a dead body just like swings in the way. They're just there. They're enough to make you really uncomfortable, and I really loved
hanging
that
in
touch.
the fences and stuff, wasn't it? All
Very
of that,
subtle, but enough to know that
you're right.
there had been some massacres around these areas, and this was a real thing that happened, and these people had to process that, because I couldn't fathom being somebody who's so well protected in this day and age. If I saw even a partial amount of that, it would mess me up, I'll be honest. The fact that that's fictional is the only reason that's conditioned. But if I was to do something like that, I don't think mentally the type of person that people that we are today would be able to recover as well as someone like Will does in the film, which is interesting. That was my favourite touch of it, was how raw it was without it throwing it in your face. I'd loved that. I really thought that was a good touch.
Cool. Right, should we move on?
Although the last thing I'll say, the last shot, where he's just kind of
By a
like,
tree.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Sit by a tree.
Yeah.
I thought that was one of the best endings you could have to that
He
story.
never really talks about himself,
No.
does
no,
he? And
no,
then you
absolutely
kind of
not.
you get a bit. He kind of takes that moment to think, "What on earth have I just been through?"
Yeah, especially as well. Like I didn't click onto it when the French lady says, "Do you have children?" He just disregards it.
Yeah, he
and
doesn't say anything,
I
does he?
didn't. I made note that he didn't answer it, but I didn't
Yeah.
know why. And I was like, he didn't answer that question. That's weird. And then the light that goes on when he's like, you don't even consider his family. He never, as you say, he never talks about it. And it's such a nice
Yeah.
moment. But yeah, it's really
No,
cool. Really
glorious
enjoyed
film. Glorious. Yes. Oh, I'm at the top of the list.
Go for it.
Well, I mean, we could go from one war into a different type of war with the film me and Will watched yesterday with Jojo Rabbit, or we can go totally off piece and talk about Sex Education Season 2.
Yeah, which Will hasn't seen. I've only seen 1917 and Sex Education this week. So I've seen, pardon me, all of Season 2. So if you guys want to keep on the war theme, go with that, and then we'll round off with a non-spoiler version
Sure.
of Sex
Can
Education.
do if you want. So Jojo Rabbit, me and Will literally saw yesterday.
How would you... I haven't
I
seen
say
it.
Wednesday.
How would you summarise it in a sentence
Ooh.
I would
or a
say
short synopsis?
All right. Go
the
for it,
story
Will.
of a young German boy who's heavily influenced by the world around him, who's almost like a coming of age where certain situations arise and he starts to see the world a little bit differently.
Okay.
That's how
Ooh.
I'd sum it up.
Socially susceptible child comes to the realization that all is not what he thought.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah, it's quite a deceptive film because it feels like a comedy at some points and you're laughing along as a comedy, and then you get sucker punched in the stomach at some other points.
Oh god, I did not see that coming
No.
at all.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can't say what it is, but hashtag spoilers.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think you'd really enjoy it.
Yeah, I do want to go see it. I would probably go and see it before the next pod. I'd
Best
like to say.
picture? I definitely don't think so. I think I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay,
personally.
Yes,
It
I
was
concur
really
with your eight.
enjoyable. I think personally I thought the pacing was a bit up and down for my taste, but that was the only really thing.
Do you think these two films coming out at the same time helped the lesser film in Jojo Rabbit, or do you reckon it aided it?
I mean, obviously that they're focusing on two different aspects. They're between World War One and World War Two, so you
I
can't.
don't even think that. I think Jojo Rabbit's not even close to a war film.
No,
Like,
Okay.
you know, it's,
no.
It's just set in that time.
Yeah.
It's you're basically following this one child who should have been up for Best Actor all day. That kid absolutely nailed that role. It's basically his coming of age story, based around obviously Nazi Germany, and it's got a sort of comedic satire undertone. But like
Nice.
Will says, there's moments that just literally just take you straight out of that.
Yeah.
The comedy relief is his, as you kind of like part of the story, is his friend Hitler, who he absolutely idolizes, and that's where kind of he's from the moment you first see him, you're laughing on the screen. So
Fair.
it's a really interesting take, really enjoyable. I give it an 8 out of 10.
I concur with your 8 out of 10. I agree.
Yeah.
8 out of 10. It's well worth a watch. A good laugh at points, at others. But yeah, overall, nice.
Yeah, so tell me a bit about Sex Education Season 2. I've seen Season 1. I'm hopefully
Alright.
watching Season 2 this weekend.
Nice. I
It's
would
good.
recommend it's
You'll
good.
end up binging it. I think
Yeah.
it's set up in such a way where you just want to keep watching it.
That's cool.
It's very different to the first season, I believe. I don't know if you would agree.
Yes.
It takes on more mature tones in regards to some of the issues that people of that age deal with in this society, which is actually quite nice. It is slightly as basic as that. It's a lot more depressing than the first season. Still equally as amusing, but it is a bit more depressing through a variety of characters, sadly. But the thing I liked about it is it's not one of those things where, you know, everyone goes running off into the sunset as like most American things
Skipping,
would be.
holding hands.
It's actually quite real, and things that people would do for, sound really cheesy and cliche, people do nasty things for love, and to get what they want, and that's shown in this series during multiple times, which is actually quite interesting.
Yeah.
And it's a true reflection of what the youth, I think this will resonate through pretty much all generations, don't really know the repercussions because they are love struck, which is really interesting to kind of look at.
That's cool.
I really didn't. This is not a spoiler either. I didn't like Otis throughout the season, but I related to him a lot when I was a kid in regards to just being very confused and thinking
The
you're doing
character
the right
or the
thing.
actor?
Oh, the actor's amazing,
Okay,
but
cool.
the character
Yeah.
of Otis in the second season, you'll see what I mean. People who have seen it will understand. But I just sympathised with him a lot. I was irritated by his actions, but sometimes through desperation, you just do silly things.
Okay.
Which again, I don't believe is a spoiler in the slightest. But I related with him a lot, especially in my youth. Not for any of the inappropriate things he did, just some of his actions in regards to romance. Hopeless romantic. But it was good. I personally, I loved the way the last season ends. A lot of people don't, for reasons they can take from themselves. But I'll give it a 9 out of 10, to be honest with you.
Whoa.
It's quite high.
It's definitely higher
I
than I
enjoyed
thought
it.
it'd be.
I had an emotional connection with a lot of the characters, and I wanted
Wow.
some to succeed, some to fail at a lot more emotional level than you'd think, because you do get quite invested in their stories, which is really sweet. Good, as I said, for good reasons and bad reasons. I'll give it a 9.
Cool.
Really hope they do more for whatever reason. If they could, it'd be great, because I think the cast is really good. They really gel together well. I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. They seem like a really authentic cast, which is really cool. I think I just enjoyed it. It was good.
Awesome. Wow, that was a good summary. What about you, Belle?
I mean,
what sort of score would you give it?
I mean, for me, I really like seeing the other characters develop more, because obviously season 1 was mainly focused around Otis and Maeve, with sort of like you kind of met the other characters, but this season really, what I really liked is I saw less of Otis and Maeve.
Yeah,
I know that sounds really savage, but obviously the scenes they're in were great, but I really liked finding more about all the other characters and just like kind of following like their stories, and quite right, like you said, it's their kind of development as human beings, and obviously they're kind of young teen state, as it were.
I think. Would you say? I think there's a character for every. I'm going to say stereotype. Every type of person in the UK that has gone to a traditional kind of school will relate to at least one of the characters in some way.
Yeah,
I think there's a bit of everybody in every
think
character.
a sort of like goth archetype is the only one that isn't really super duper covered under by Maeve a little bit, but not properly.
Yeah,
I think that's the only one that isn't. But
it's fairly close.
Yeah,
personally.
Yeah, there's like a jock. There's the nerds. There's everything. I think overall, I think I'd sort of agree this sort of 8-9 bracket. I slightly preferred season 1 a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I think I'd probably give season 1 a 9, season 2 like 8.5. Personally,
that's cool.
But no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope they do make season 3. The ending, I literally just shouted. I was like, no,
really?
No.
So you didn't like it?
You insert expletive word here.
Interesting.
No, I liked it because I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, you'll get thrown a lot of curveballs, which I like.
Yeah.
I'm up for that.
But yeah, so I kind of ended going, no, you insert expletive at one particular character.
Cool.
But yeah, overall, well worth a watch.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't think I've seen anything else.
No, neither did
that's
I.
me as well.
You've just seen nothing else?
No.
Not seen anything else?
No.
Well, in which case, go to your local cinema and watch all the things. If you go to View, you'll probably see it for cheaper. Whee! But yeah, that pretty much summarises podcast number. What are we? Episode 15.
Nice. Wow.
Nice. Look at that. We're flying through pods. As always, if you have any comments or questions or things, let us know. Chat to us in there. If there's a particular thing you want to talk about, or if you want to be on the pod, why not? Come and join us. We're on a Thursday afternoon after college. More than welcome to let us know. Or if you don't fancy being here, send us a pre-recorded thing.
Interesting. Yeah.
Why not? Why not? But if you've got a particular feeling about a film and you can summarise it in like a minute, good on you. Record it. We'll chuck it on. There you go. That's a promise. Otherwise, that pretty much brings an end to the Where's My KitBag podcast. I've been James.
I'm Will.
And I'm Steve.
And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Where's My KitBag podcast. Please feel free to drop us a comment about anything you want us to cover down in the comment section down below, or hit us up on Instagram or Twitter at F6 Media Film.